What's up, everybody? Che here with the No Spoon Podcast, back with another video. As you can see, I'm sitting in my car. I just got out the gym. It's Labor Day. Everybody's kind of off and doing what they're doing. I wish you a happy Labor Day. For those that are working still, we appreciate you working. It don't stop, so there's always work to do. As you can see, I'm not in the studio. I'm not in my, with the normal equipment. But sometimes you just want to make a video. And I feel like now I want to just start putting out content whenever I feel like making the content. You know what I mean? It might be sitting here in the car after the gym, and I just don't feel like going up, waiting. I got to get it out now. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just making content. I don't care about the bells and whistles. It looks good, if it sounds good and all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about the message. That's what you're going to get from this channel. So if you like it, subscribe, like and share this with as many people as possible, and comment down below and tell me what you think of what I'm about to talk about right now. We talk a lot about overcoming things, and we talk a lot about the issues that's going on in our nation as far as like, the political scene, the social scene, the cultural scene, and all these things that need to happen. And, it all boils down to you as an individual. What are you as an individual going to do? And how do you overcome your problems? And I've said this many a times, that I think the biggest problem in our country today is that we're a nation of people that don't believe that we can overcome our problems. Like, we believe we're stuck in those problems and that we can't get out of it. And so it's easier to just label it some type of clinical disease or clinical problem, excuse me. And then you can just prescribe a medication, and that medication can put, money into big pharma and, a lot of these type of, corporations' hands. Anyways, excuse me. I want to tell you a little story real quick about myself, and just kind of like relate that into what, how this kind of coincides with what I'm trying to say. Anyways, back when I was about 18 years old, and this is about 22 years ago, right? I was about 18 years old. I just graduated from high school. Excuse me, man. And I was kind of like in a place where all my life I wanted to play football, right? That was my goal, play football. And I felt like at this time, upon graduating high school, I would be playing football at a high level, Division I college football. I had a particular school I wanted to go to. I felt like that was my destiny, right? That was the goal that I had set up when I was a little kid, and that I'd always felt was going to happen. And I was going to go and play Division I college football at a high level. And, the rest would be history. Well, here I was, 18 years old, and, I had gotten some looks, I had got some offers, but it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't where I wanted to go. I didn't feel like, first of all, it wasn't in the plan. You know what I mean? What I felt like I was capable of or worth, it was irrelevant. It wasn't in my plan, and I didn't make it. And, instead of doing what should have been done and responding to that in the appropriate way, in the way that a man should respond to it, is I should have got back up on my feet, dusted myself off, and, put in the work to get to the level that I wanted to be. And that would have been, the appropriate thing to do would have been to go to a community college, play a year or two there, and then hopefully get what I wanted. You know what I mean? Put in more work. I had to work harder. But instead, I was kind of in a funk. I kind of went into this, I guess you can call it depression, because I didn't get what I wanted out of life at that point. And I was young, and I'd still, but in that time, and you look at it in the proper context and perspective, I felt like it was over. And so I kind of just went into this, like, downward spiral of being depressed and being kind of like feeling hopeless, and just feeling like, life cheated me, so to speak. And so instead of going to school, enrolling in school, and doing what I should have done, I just didn't do anything. I just went to work with my pops, and that was that. I didn't play any football that following year. And, a lot of people told me, man, what are you doing? Like, you should go play. Like, you can do it. It's going to be a little bit of a more difficult path to take. But, that's not what I did. And I kind of went into this little bit of a funk or whatnot. And Uh, but towards, I think it was like a November of the football season, right? I was like, man, you're right. I gotta get back on it, right? I gotta get back on it. This has to stop. So that's what I did. I started making plans. I started preparing. I started saying, okay, this is what I need to do. This is my program. And I just started mapping it all out and charting it all out, right? And so my days consisted of getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, and right after work, I would go put a couple hours in on the field, doing my drills, my reps and everything like that. And then I put a couple hours in the weight room. And I did that 6 days a week. Sunday I would rest. But the downtime that I had, the leisure time that I had, I would, hang out with my girlfriend at the time. I would go to the movies, whatever, just hang out with her. That was my life. It was very regimented. I bought my own food. I took care of myself. My nutrition was on point. I was gaining weight. I was getting bigger. I was getting faster. I was getting stronger. I was like, man, I was on a projected path towards meeting my goal. I was doing it. I was focused, right? And I did that for maybe like 3 or 4 months. And of just that straight focus, right? And then it was one day, it was on a Saturday. I remember my girl, she called me and she said, it's, so-and-so's birthday. We're all, me and her and a bunch of friends are going to get together and go out to eat for one of her friends' birthday, Saturday night. So I was like, man, all right, that's cool. Like, I wasn't really, whatever. I'll just stay home and do what I'm going to do. But of course, I kind of got curious and I started pick up the phone. Well, hey, what's going on? Called a couple people. So somebody said, man, look, there's a party. There's a party going on. So-and-so's throwing a party. Everybody's going to be there. Everybody, right? And this means like, probably people that don't have the same values and ideals that I have. So I said, man, I ain't going to stay home tonight. Come on, come get me. So he comes, he picks me up. We go to this party. Now, at the time, like I said, I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing anything. I was just so focused. And I kind of felt like some people were going to be like, man, where you been at? Da, 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 da. But when I get there, it wasn't like that at all. Like people was, embracing me, hey, man, what's up, man? We know you're doing your thing, and then everybody was just kind of like, man, come through every once in a while. You know what I mean? And, and I mean, it was a typical, like the hood party, like, dark in the living room, people grinding on each other. It was sweaty. It smelled like weed and Black and Milds and liquor and people shooting dice in the back and people in the front. I mean, it was just like, the whole scene. And I felt like, blunts was going around. I smoked a little bit, drank a little bit. Somebody said, look, hey, I'm going to the liquor store. I said, let me go with you. Went over there. Now I'm drinking. You know what I'm saying? I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I got this little female I'm talking to, like all this thing is happening. And I'm like, like I'm really feeling myself at this point, right? I'm really like, man. And that was that, right? That was that. It was over. We went home. Nothing really came of it. There's nothing. See, I'm not going to tell you something in this story where it's going to be like, oh, somebody got killed or shot or went to jail or this happened and it changed the whole trajectory of my life. But something very significant did happen at that party. Something so significant that here I am 22 years later and I remember it. And I remembered it throughout my whole time of being incarcerated, because when I really sat back and I looked at my life, I pinpointed that party, because what happened at that party was significant. Right? What happened with that party was monumental and life-changing. And it wasn't even a big deal at the time. What happened is that a seed got planted in my mind. And that seed was that I can do this once in a while. Once in a while, I can hang out. Once in a while, I can drink and smoke and get away and live this life once in a while. And so what I did was I started to compromise. I started to have an internal negotiation within my mind. And that internal negotiation started to say, man, you can do that, man. You ain't got to be so focused. You ain't got to be so rigid. Go have fun. Go do this. Go let loose every once in a while. And so what happened after that is that I went back, normal program on Monday, normal program, went to work, worked out, yada, 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 everything, hung out with my girl, this and that. But in the back of my head, I was thinking about last Saturday. And I was thinking about how I can make last Saturday this Saturday. And so I don't think I hung out the next weekend, but I think the following weekend, I started to say, hey man, I'm gonna go out with my friends, and did that. And then every time I went out, I wanted to go back out. And so the next thing would happen is, now my girl starts noticing, and you starting to hang out a lot more. You're starting to do this a lot more. You're starting to do things you weren't normally doing. I'm starting not to, I'm not focused on the workouts anymore, because my mind is thinking about the weekends, thinking about hanging out, thinking about being around the homies and everything. And so what happens is that now I'm starting fights with her, arguments, so I can get out and go hang out. Right? So now what turned into, within my mind, the negotiation I had in my mind to do this, once a month or twice a month, then turned into every weekend. Right? And then every weekend, next thing you know, I'm not even with her no more, because we ain't gotten so many arguments, and I created so many arguments to get away. I'm not even with her no more. So now I don't have nobody to kind of anchor me or anything like that. So what I did is, now every weekend started turning every night. And I'm still doing my thing. I'm still going to work. I'm still training, but I'm not putting as much effort into it, because now I'm getting stuck on what's going on out here, what's going on in the streets, what's going on with so-and-so and whoop-de-whoop and all these different things. And now I'm focused on that. And it wasn't long. And I remember the season started, right? I'm playing junior college, and the season started, and I started the first game. By halftime, I was out. I was on the bench. The next game, I didn't start. I was only on special teams. By the third game, I didn't play at all, even special teams. That's because I was so focused on other things. I had stopped working out months before this. I had stopped even caring, and I was just going. My mind was already in the streets. I was already in that lifestyle. I was like, I didn't care anymore. So I quit the team. Of course, I'm blaming it on the coach. Of course, I'm blaming it on them. They don't like me, this and this and that. Reality is I just didn't put the work in. You know what I'm saying? Reality is I started compromising because I wanted to hang out and be out in the streets, and that's exactly where I was. And so it was so fast of a time. I think in a matter of maybe 6 months, I was just full-time in the streets. Just full-time in the streets, full-time just living that lifestyle. And it was within months of that happening, I was off the streets and in jail. You know what I mean? And I didn't get back until 15 years later. And I say this because our failures are really just the result of a series of internal negotiations. And we negotiate away our morals. We negotiate away the things that get us to where we're trying to go, that keep us on the path toward our goals. And instead of not negotiating, standing firm with your feet in the ground and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care, nobody's going to take me off my path and off my course, we start to negotiate. And they're so subtle. They're so simple. They don't even look dangerous. Like I said, nothing major happened that night except a shift in my mind. And that shift led to all this downward spiral of a catastrophe. Here I was, 18 years old, right? And and now fast forward to being 35 years old and paroling and going to live in a bedroom at your mom and dad's house, like no kids, no wife, no career, no nothing. All because I allowed the internal negotiations of my mind to negotiate away my morals and my values. And then all of that I was working towards was gone. So I say that today, man. Don't negotiate. Be non-negotiable. Stand firm. Stand all 10 toes down, planted firmly in the soil, standing tall in concrete. Don't negotiate. Keep pushing. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. Stick to the right path. It's really simple. You want to change your life. You want to get better. You want to change the world around you. Do your part. Quit worrying about what everybody else is doing, who they voting for, what they believe in, this and that. Focus on yourself first. Do what you got to do. Stand firm on what's truth and righteousness, and everything else is going to fall into play. If you like this, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, like it, share it, get it out to many people as possible. I appreciate your time. My name is Che. It's the No Spoon Podcast.